It is now profile picture. That's not to say my profile picture, rather it is the picture that we did on day 1, and we did a 3/4 on day 3, and we're now going to try and turn it into a profile on day 5. Yeah, that's a pretty sensible sequence of events, I think. Just for note, you may notice that today we have something going on the screen over there. That's because to relax myself during this process, I've decided to play some ambient Star Trek background noises. This is the bridge and engine sounds of the Starship Enterprise. So that's on YouTube, and if it goes into an advert partway through, I guess I'm just going to have to live with that. Right. So, same key and start as the usual is we have the big circle. All these things are going to start with a big circle eventually, so there's no surprise there for the circle. But this is going to be a profile, and we're going to face it this way, since we should be able to take the 3 images and do them as a turn of facing forward, facing 3/4, facing sideways. Now, for this one, we didn't add any extra height to the chin, so this is just going to be a straight up, essentially it's a circle with a chin. That's how this works out. So if that's the halfway point where the eyes should go, now the eyes are pretty much here against the face at this point. So they would go there, the nose would come into me approximately, actually, how high was the nose? The nose was, yeah, about halfway between. That's where we ended the nose. And of course the mouth will come here. Add some chin. And I guess the ears would be at the halfway point here. Top of the eye, top of the ear, like so. So this is, and he's got these small lobes. This, I didn't really pay too much attention to the ears in the second image, but I really should have done. So the way that I've been drawing ears this entire time is to essentially, I'm going to start with the ears this time because they're right in the centre of the image. The way that I've been doing the ears is to imagine that this thing is stuck on the side of the head, which it is, and that it has a kind of rim going around it all the way, which kind of comes up there, so you have this internal C. But then you also have, I don't even know what that bit of the ear is called, that comes in this way. Now that doesn't meet up all the way though, because that basically, there's a part of the head that sort of goes in there, which I guess you might see more of that. Actually, I'm literally feeling my ear to feel how this should look. So that would come up there, and yeah, I guess you would have that there, and that then comes up around there. And, oh. You know, in my own ear I can feel a bit sticking in here as well, so it's like that. But that doesn't, well, I mean, I didn't show it on the other 2 pictures for this, so I guess there's none of that. That could explain why the ear looked so odd yesterday, because I've connected it at the top and not the bottom. So I think that this is a better ear, but not yesterday's, but the day before. I think that is a better ear. And the thing about eyes, when you draw them from the side, is that you don't see the entire eye. What you get is a kind of this shape to the eye, and you don't see the entire depth of the eyeball, you only see half of it. So what you're actually getting is a very shallow kind of eye that comes together like this, and then you have your pupil there. So the eye should be just sort of like that. Of course, in this we aren't drawing the underside of that, so essentially the eye is that. The brow should be kind of prominent, I think. So that should sort of stick out a little bit and come in there for the nose. Now the nose on this character is kind of bulbous, so I feel like we should open that up a bit for this, from the side view. Maybe even just have a little bulby bit on the end there. It'll come in here to meet the mouth. Now, again, I did look at some nose studies, and they sort of show that although you have essentially a nostril hole there, you don't see the entire nostril at all times. When you're picking out the lines that you're going to draw, you really only want to see the ones where there's like a depth behind it. And so since this essentially leads straight up in there into the channel, you only really need to see that part of it. And then sort of adjoining onto that we have this part here. Yeah, so the mouth. To make this easier, I can sort of show that, because there was this cheek thing before, wasn't there? This kind of, that shape. That'll give me a guide to work towards. And we did show in the other image that this guy has a kind of rounded chin, but the mouth needs to sort of come in there. So that's, so yeah, if we were drawing the full lip would look like that, but because we're doing harsh outlines, we don't want to display the full lip. We really, I don't think we even want that line, do we? We just want the vaguest hint of it in the shape of the profile to sort of come to a point there. And the same thing here. Again, very small chin. In fact, that is almost not enough chin. I'm actually tempted just to bring this down a bit further, just to just to save the appearance of this thing, because I can't wait till I'm using photo references for these to actually see what shape a human head actually is when you look at a real one, because this is not great. So if the hair would have been sort of round like so. Let's think about this. I do that because I'm thinking, there's a curve there, but it might not actually have a curve that goes up, because when you think about it, if this is a 3D shape, a curve would go like that. So actually, maybe it would kind of appear flat, because if it did go up at the back, it would just be a sort of a flat line, but not that we're going to see any of that anyway. So I changed the hair between day 1 and 2 of this face, because I initially went for a kind of all up and everywhere kind of style, but then that has to sort of be scruffy in all directions when you come to draw it on the whole head. It'll come down to there at the back. Now you can do scruffy hair at this point. If not scruffy, then at least, you know, put some texture in it. But if you do texture at the top here, it looks a bit odd. What you actually need is something more akin to a, because it will have weight to it, it will actually hang down, it won't stick up here, and this is very short. And the size of strokes that we're using suggests that it is in fact not very short. I think one of the biggest things I'm going to have to do to improve my artwork in this regard is I'm going to actually have to look at some hair and see how hair should look on paper. And when I say look at hair, I don't just mean like look at hair, I mean look at different, like how other artists draw hair, to decide how that should look. Because I'm pretty sure it shouldn't look the way that I draw it. And this top edge here, so I feel like if it came down that way, how would that look on that edge? That would literally just be like a dark edge, wouldn't it? Because it would all be pulling down from that edge. Maybe I shouldn't even draw that edge. Maybe it should be sort of pulled down from it, almost like yeah, like in inverted U shapes, as if the hair's kind of clinging and pulling down. Give it some. Just realised I wasn't going to go up there, and I've gone up anyway. Great. I think it's inking time. If nothing else, I think I'm getting faster at this. So that's like a positive. I'm getting faster. And I'm definitely getting better at noses because, you know, I'm looking at studies of them, which if I looked at studies of other body parts, maybe I'd actually be half decent. Although probably not. Right. I feel like that's already wrong, but I'm not sure how, so I'm going to leave it there. So this eye is going to come down to like a line there. There's a little thing that I learned. Don't know where I learned this actually, that the pupil should not be in the centre of this. The pupil should actually be closer to this face. I'm going to do the usual shiny part, but the pupil part of this should be close to the front, because being on a sphere, obviously it's rotated towards the front. So if it was in the middle, it would look wrong, because that would be if it was looking towards us. Basically, what I'm saying is I looked at an eye and I feel smart now. Yeah, I'm feeling very good about this profile. I'm feeling very confident about how this is going to turn out. I feel like that should end about there. And oh, I've not drawn an eyebrow, and this doesn't have an eyebrow. Now I think that the eyebrow should actually come all the way to the front here. It should actually be almost like sort of sticking out. Like that. And this can come up here, do the full curve of the head. I really need to adjust this camera because I keep noticing that it's pointing in the wrong direction. So now this hair. So we definitely want to have some sprigs coming forward here. We definitely want to have some coming down this way. I feel like I did a lot better job there and there than I did here. Now, I'm going to risk this with what I think it should be, which is lots of little inverted shapes like so, to kind of sell the idea that it's not quite even. So it's sort of pulling down, and if the flow of the hair is all coming this way. So we have this sort of directional flow to the hair. So it's going to come away from the head there. I know that the light that I put on the hair is very, it's very non-directional. I kind of have this idea that there will be a shiny place, and I don't really think about where that light is coming from for the shiny part. But I feel like there should be a shiny part sort of here-ish, but not actually. No, there shouldn't be a shiny part here. Thinking about it, or should there? Because there's a light hitting the eye, kind of from the front. Oh, it's too late now. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but my general technique when I'm drawing things like this is not so much figure out what I should draw and then draw it. It's I will be putting lines down pretty much constantly. And so I've got to figure out where those lines are going to go while I'm doing them, because as soon as I finish the line I'm currently on, the next one's coming in and it's got to go somewhere. I do this a lot, this thing here where I'm overlapping this line because I'm trying to keep the flows, I'm trying to keep energy in the flow to give it a kind of a direction to it. And I feel like by trying to keep that energy in there, I'm actually losing energy elsewhere. Like I've got to take that, I've got to stop when it comes down to here. So maybe that didn't need energy. That just needed a nice stable line to come down. I don't know, maybe I should do these lines slower. Maybe this is the mistake that I'm making, is that I'm doing these quick sketchy lines and I should be doing them with more intention, more. But when I do that, they get this weird sort of, I guess that's a penmanship thing more than an art thing. Like art is more about knowing which lines to place on the paper, and penmanship is being able to actually then do those lines. I feel like this needs more eyebrow. Like there. It should. Yeah. Not drawn the back of the neck, nor have I drawn the front of the neck. You know what? I think I'm going to call that. I think that's pretty good. Get the eraser out. I'm a lot more pleased with this than I am with yesterday's. I felt like yesterday's was lacking something. It had a very oblong-y feel. It had a very rectangular feel to the face, which I didn't like. Didn't like how it felt. Looking back at it now, even like, normally at the time I look at these things and go, well, it's alright, and then afterwards, maybe actually it was okay. But yesterday's, I looked at it at the time and thought, I'm not sure about that, and I looked at it afterwards and I was like, yeah, that is pure dog shit. That is just terrible. As I said, my intent with the process of this, of the way in which, see what I've done here. I don't know if you can see if I can get a close up of that. Those lines don't end where they should. They seem to sort of continue off into space at the end of the lips. It's very odd. I think I do that kind of thing a lot. It's problematic, but yeah. See, if I was doing this on a computer, I could just get a magic tool that would go whoop and just get rid of that. In fact, I'm actually going to curve that off a bit just there. I don't think it helped, but I felt better about it. Oh, I need to erase just here. Yeah, the idea behind this was that I would take one to improve at the end of the process. At the end of this week, I would attempt to re-render one of these images to improve it. And I thought that maybe the best thing to do would be to pick the one I'm most happy with, which thus far is this one. Pick the one that I'm most happy with and do like an improved version of it to make, because then that's, if I'm happy with the first one, surely I'll be happy with the second one, and it'll be wonderful. But then I thought that actually no, that the better way to do it, add a little bit more line to the eyelid there, just to, yeah, a better way, and also an extra bit of, hell yeah. Perhaps a better way to do this, I was thinking, is that I'll take the one that I'm least happy with. Because if I take the one that I'm least happy with and redo that, then what I actually get then is the biggest chance for improvement. So at the moment it's looking like yesterday's image is the one that I'm going to redo on day 7 of this week. But for now, that's pretty good. Looking forward to doing a profile of yesterday's image tomorrow. And Oh god, what if I can only draw heads looking in that direction? What if tomorrow's is bad as well, because I'm going to be facing it this way? What if I can only draw things looking left? Horror. Well, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.